Kryon, Book 12, 12 Layers of DNA. Chapter 8. DNA Group 2, Layers 4, 5, and 6. Read by Vivi Lee on Vivi Lee Audiobook. By Kryon. DNA Group 2, The Human Divine Layers. The human divinity layers are layers 4, 5, and 6. As we progress, you will see that the energy represented in the DNA become more quantum or multidimensional and less explainable. My partner knows this, and this is why he has turned all the explanations over to me. However, I remind him that he still stands as the interpreter within the channeling, and therefore, he is just as much involved as I am in the process of converting non-linear things into a linear thinking humanity. The numerological implications are here too, for the 4, 5, and 6 add up to 6, just as the first grouping did. Layer 6 is in this group, so you will see the profound meaning for it as we continue. Layers 4 and 5, your angelic name. Of all the layers, this one will be the one that creates those who will scratch their head in the puzzlement. What is that about? And why 2 layers? It is the 3D thinker who will do this, for the only word we have in the language of Earth is name. In the angelic realm, the identity of this energy is not singular. For you, it is. If I ask, what is your name? You would give me a word that you are identified by. You then join all the other things on the planet, like table, cloud, sky, or rock. Wait a minute, Kryon, you might say. That's not true. For the rocks of the earth don't have separate names. We all have a unique name, so it isn't like a thing at all. Okay, fine. Then let's name all the rocks and pebbles. They still are singular and don't carry an energy past 3D with the identification word. We see you as a quantum soul group. It's time to again itemize the way this soul group splits when it comes into the planet. This is something we have channeled many times, but here it is again for this book, put into a condensed form. First, I am going to ask 2 questions that will help qualify what we're about to teach. Question number 1. When you co-create for yourself, does it affect any other human being alive? When you actively create the thing you need, the home, the relationship, the job, the parking space, are you doing it in a vacuum? Or does it affect any other human being? Of course it does. Many. So here is the second question. What gives you the right to steamroll your co-creation right over their lives? This would seem to be an unsolvable esoteric question of spiritual integrity, would it not? But when you realize the system of how everything works, then you begin to understand as best you can the appropriateness of it all. During channeling with Kryon, the entourage that I bring often sits and washes your feet in love. You might wonder why we would do such a thing. What is it hiding so greatly that spirit would come to you and kneel at your feet? Here is the answer, and it is one that filled with awe and wonder in the profundity that it represents. At the wind of birth, as we call your birthday, we say goodbye to the part of you that belongs to the essence of God on my side of the veil. And an amazing series of multidimensional events takes place. Even the most elementary spiritual knowledge will tell you that you could not possibly exist on earth in your full God form. Therefore, you must intuitively know that something happens at the birth to alter whatever you think your part of God is, to allow you to be born on the planet and exist here. you split up into many parts, and some of them will surprise you. Or you may actually disagree with what you're reading, since your earth-based teaching is so singularly biased against what really takes place. The largest part of the split of your soul group is the higher self. It separates from the human self in a quantum way. Now to a human, the higher self is somewhere else, perhaps in heaven. The truth is that the higher self is really in the DNA, but it is not in 3D, and separates itself so completely from the human 3D experience that it seems to the human that it is not in the reality of your experience. This truth is common to most of the sacred and spiritual parts of the human, that they are always with you, but seemingly not there, since they are in the quantum states. Again, humans see things in a singular fashion and does not even like the concept of God as a group or themselves as a group. Everything in 3D is singular, with a singular time frame, life length, and with a nice start and finish. It is a piece of string syndrome, showing the incredible bias you have in 3D, and many can't think beyond it. You are just like the string, simple, singular, with a beginning and an end. The next thing to split out of your sacred soul group is what you call the guides and angels that are yours for life. This is controversial to a human, since it voids all the nice illusions of what the guides are, their singular names, and what they do. The truth is that they are all pieces and parts of your own soul group. The concept of you with you is foreign to a human being, since it again is not singular, and it doesn't sit well with the logic of who you think you are. What? Some say. You mean my guides and angels are just me? How disappointing! This comment is prevalent to a human at the discovery of what we're saying. And it is said this way because most humanity is told by spiritual leaders that they are born unworthy and that all good things come from above. The truth is that all good things indeed come from God, but that is within and not somewhere else, resting on the clouds playing harps. There is a very interesting validation of what I'm telling you here about your guides and angels. Remember 21 years ago when I told you in Kryon Book 1 about the fact that when you change your vibration, your guide set retreats from you? It almost feels like you get nuance. Here's another piece of the puzzle that will fit for you, for the system allows for human being to change the vibration or efficiency of his or her DNA. When that occurs, you have a personal epiphanies or realization or a come-to-God moment. It's called all manner of things, but it represents full spiritual life change and an actual change in the way your own DNA communicates with you and the world around you. Suddenly, you believe fully in things that you didn't care about before, or that were silly or not meaningful. The religions on the planet are filled with humans doing this, for it is common to the spiritual attributes of humanity. It happens in every spiritual system, but it is called in different names. Still, look at the similarities and the issues around them. When a human makes this kind of DNA spiritual shift, the guides back away. They have to, for the human is actually changing their vibration. Their DNA is changing, and there is a period of time that is unsettling for them, where the old things leave and the new things are seen more clearly. If you were to go from the mind of a child to the mind of an adult overnight, those around you would absolutely leave you alone, for only you can sort out the changes and start to be comfortable with a new you. So, it is the same with the guides and angels who are you. And now back away while you readjust. During this readjustment period, there is loneliness and a feeling of being left by a loved one. There are tears and almost a feeling of non-purpose. This is just your own DNA getting used to a new vibration, a new efficiency. It is common to men and common to any spiritual shift. When balance has been achieved, the guides come back and feel almost like they are new. Why? Because they are now able to communicate far better than before. Even in spiritual systems that don't believe in guides or angels, the human being feels so much better about their own place in the universe, on the earth, and in their lives. But during the hours, the days, or months of readjustment, it feels so lonely. There's a report that Christ was dying on the cross, hanging there. Indeed, he was dying. And if he had not been taken down early due to the sunset rules of crucifixion of the time in Jerusalem, he would have died right there and then. The report by the gods is that this Son of God uttered the strangest words imaginable. "My God, why have you forsaken me?" This Jewish master was more in touch with God than any other human at that time, and now he's suddenly alone. You see, he was going through an incredible shift that even separated the master from his very essence. This now explains this phrase to you and shows again that the guides are so much a part of you that to have them back off even for a moment is traumatic. Little does the human realize just how surrounded he is with the sacredness of the Creator. Even biblical historians argue over this phrase that the Christ used, saying it was purposeful throws of quoting past prophecy of his death, so that he would prove to all that he was who he was. Humans do many things, but it's a stretch for even the Christ to conjure up a poem or two as he hung in agony in his 9th hour. So now, we have 2 sets of the split of you at birth, on our way to the 3rd one, and the answer to the co-creation integrity question asked originally. The final split is what we will call the entourage of your soul group. This is not explainable to you in the logic and dimension bias, so just think of a bunch of you staying on the other side of the veil. Why? I'll explain in a moment. With all of the essence and core of your spiritual soul being split out, you arrive as a baby human being on planet Earth, in 3D with a singular bias, and with only a fraction of who you were. All this you do willingly for the reasons we have given you before, caring about the universe enough to help form what is to come. All this has been channeled before and is for another lesson. But know this, we see what has happened, and here you are reading this book. Do you know who you are? We do. So we see the incredible human being as a worker in the light, and one who has come here knowing that they won't remember anything until a day when their free choice touches them and asks to look. But notice what happens when human gets to a certain age. They look for the Creator. Over 85% of humanity is involved in some kind of spiritual system, believing in the afterlife. This is a mandate of logic that just screams that something intuitively inside the cellular structure of humanity is missing something and goes looking to find it as soon as possible. Again I say this. Blessed is the human being who finds the Creator energy anywhere, anywhere. For there is no judgment as to how they do it, with what doctrine or system. It may not be the one that you have found, but if it suits that part of them that needs to find solace and the love of God in their own way, then it is appropriate. More than appropriate, it is the first step to a journey of finding the higher self in any way, with any words they choose. Healings occur in all the systems. Did you know that? Epiphanies and changed lives are there too. Never let your singular bias get in the way of thinking that there's only one way to God. You are already God, and there are thousands of ways to see the God in you. This last group, the entourage of you, stays on my side of the veil. They are indeed a part of your soul group. So, you ask, what do they do? This is such a linear question. It's very funny to Spirit. Yes, Spirit has fun with human partners, and we smile and celebrate the learning that takes place with all of you who decided to enter this door of quantum lesson. They don't do anything, but they exist as a balance of humanity, providing for a bridge of your mastery. This entourage has no name or form. Think of it as an energy representative of your part of humanity living on my side of the veil. Think of a conquest of trillions of soul pieces who work together to support all of humanity, and especially the ones on the other side of the veil who have their essence, the humans in 3D. How does this work? Let me give you the simplest explanation I can. They represent the potentials of every decision that might be made by the human being on Earth. They are swimming in quantumness, seemingly random potentials that only become structured with your permission and intent given on your side of the veil. We have told you that your intent represents one of the most powerful forces on the planet, for it changes your DNA, as well as provides for co-creation. Ah, co-creation. Here we are again at the beginning of this lesson when I ask the two questions. Now, the answers. When you co-create, you do it in a conjunction with this entourage. All the soul groups are involved who are around your co-creation. Did you notice how often your co-creation helps others? Even when you co-create a new job that puts you right where you want to be. Did you notice that it's a win-win situation with the others around you? When you co-create a difficult situation where you may leave a relationship, did you notice that the one left behind eventually benefits from the lack of drama? Or the life change that occurs because you did what you did? Now, perhaps you are seeing the bigger picture. The entourage of you works with the entourage of all the other human beings around you to help facilitate the changes that are best for all of them. So the answer is that there is more than just integrity in your own co-creation, for it helps those around you. Dear human, here is the secret behind how your co-creation for yourself helps all of humanity and the vibration of the earth. For what you do for yourself, seemingly just to move into appropriateness, drives the engine of vibrational change for the planet. Anything you are able to spiritually co-create helps everyone. Now you know. It's also why co-creation is timed the way it is, not in a time you expect. It's the biggest frustration to a human being to not know when these things are going to manifest. Quite often, humans feel that the manifestations must occur on their own schedule. They quickly learn that there is more to the puzzle, and now you know why. For the others around you are always involved in this sacred process. Think of yourselves, therefore, as the leader manifester, instead of just the co-creator of your own destiny, for it also helps those around you, with permission of the pieces of their own entourage in a place you can't even imagine. What's in a name? So, here comes Kryon into an event where human beings are seated, a life channeling. Through my partner's reality, we sense each other in his chair, but we only feel the angelic names of who you are. This is a name that is an energy of recognition and respect for the piece of God you are in the universe. Let me tell you what this name entails. First, we see all the parts that split out. We see the whole you, and this means we recognize a piece of us. For there is no singularity with God, no parts. The parts are only a product of what happens when you come into 3D. We are multidimensional, and suddenly we see the quantumness of a family within you. You don't see it, but we do. And often, we are overwhelmed with joy at a union. For not often do humans give intent for this, a process where they sit and let us walk among them and feel their souls as family with family. Next, we see the whole human experience in that we are now looking at the DNA Akashic record of each of you. So if you've had 100 lives on the planet, we see all of them. There is no time where we are, so we can actually relive every life you have within your own personal Akash represented in your DNA. We are, therefore, seeing your entire past life spectrum of experience. Everything you have ever done on earth, ever learned, ever cried over, or celebrated. We are there at your birth and death, and all that happens in between your lives. We are there to see what you have learned that brings you to the chair, or your eyes to the page of this book. So my dear human, all that I have said in the paragraphs above is your name. Do you see how large this is for us? It is also large within the context of how it must be represented in your DNA, for it requires a double energy when compared proportionately in 3D with the other layers of energies. Therefore, you might say that it is your God family name, and it is huge. This is the name represented in the cave of creation on your individual soul crystal, which we have discussed now for more than 20 years. For the cave of creation contains an interdimensional record of all the soul groups on the planet. One crystal for each one. Each crystal represents one higher self, the same one each time. So, even if you have had more than 100 lifetimes on Earth, it is still only represented by the one interdimensional crystal. It stays on the planet as long as the Earth is here, and even if you are not. For the energy of what you and the others have done is part of the Gaia energy and remains. Therefore, you might say that your energy stamp of everything you have ever been remains on the Earth. You activate the crystal each time you arrive and deactivate it each time you leave. But the energy of your historic significance remains like a library that is anchored to Gaia forever. Urim, Betumim, and Alephes Sarodai are the two Hebrew names of God together, which we have assigned to your angelic name layer group, DNA layers 4 and 5. The Kryon meaning for them is the light and the power, and the core crystal energy. These meanings should be obvious within the description of what is in the name that you just read. You are indeed the light of the earth, and the only power that can make a difference. Your name, therefore, is the name of God yourself, but one that is not in Hebrew, but rather one sung by us in light as we greet you. You are not in the reality of a piece of string, but rather as the fabric of time itself, always there without beginning or end, always with us in our wholeness of God. You are, therefore, core family. The numbers are all very significant, for they speak alone and in combination. Look at number 4. The simple explanation for it is of Mother Earth, structure and understanding of structure in the physical world. This then is the singular part of you and your relationship to Gaia. Look next at number 5, for it represents pure change. This is the Mars number and can be very fast energy. That is, one that creates the ability for a human to change dimensionally. These numbers sitting together are linear, so they are comfortable with each other. The 4 tingles a little with the potential of the 3, whose energy we have discussed, very powerful with catalytic overlay. The 5 sits next to the grand one, the higher self, so it is influenced to change towards the spiritual. This helps to explain why you are drawn to find the Creator, as we have said before. Now, look at what the number 4 and the number 5 together add up to, for we are now presented with a 9. This is a psychic number and very sensitive. It is not just about completion, for that's too simple, but a completion of the meld between dimensionality, which your very angelic name implies within its existence in the DNA of a human. So it's a sensitive completion that carries with it a sense of your ability to build the bridge to the other side, hence the psychic part of the number. Summary: DNA layers 4 and 5. Layers 4 and 5 together are the essence of your expression, this specific life on Earth, and your divinity on the planet. They represent the name on the crystal on the Akashic record. Together, they can be understood as the primary and most important spiritual attribute of all is the tree of life, which is family. These are the names of God and should never be thought of as separate layers. They are part of the divinity group. It is so large in its energy that it takes up 2 layers of energy groups in the 12 layers that are given in this book. Thank you for listening. If you liked the video, don't forget to press like, subscribe to our channel. You can also donate to our channel to support our work. Thank you and wish you have a nice day.